going to talk about how to upload images and files into a website. And this is actually something that's really easy to do inside PHP. Now, when I say upload images and files, I'm talking about all types of images and all types of files we might have inside our computer, such as JPEGs, GIFs, PNGs, or PDF files, or text files. It can be all sorts of files, and it really depends on what you want to allow the user to upload into the website. So, as you guys can see, the only thing I've done so far has been to set up a very basic index.php file. The only thing I have in here is a very basic HTML5 setup, and what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and take this from scratch and just create everything from the form that we need to use in order to actually upload the files, and then we're going to create the script afterwards that actually uploads the file to our website. Now, before we start, I should also mention that there's two ways to upload files to a website, images and text documents and that sort of thing. Either you can upload to a database as a blob element, or you can upload directly to the root folder of the website. Now in this episode we're going to learn how to upload directly to the root folder, since I think this is the better method to use. So the first thing we need to do is inside our body tags, we're going to go ahead and create a very basic form. Now the form is going to be what we use in order to actually select a file from the computer that we want to upload into the website. So I'm going to create a form. I'm going to go ahead and set a couple of parameters inside the form tags. The first thing we need to do is to set an action inside the form tag, because we need to tell our form where we need to go to in order to load the script that needs to upload the files and images to the website. So the action we want to set is a file name called upload.php. Now this is a file we haven't created yet, but we will create it in just a second. The next parameter we need to set is a method. So I'm going to go ahead and say method equal to double quotes, and I'm going to set it as a post method. And this is something we have to do when we want to upload images and that sort of thing. We need one more parameter, and this is one we haven't talked about before because we haven't really needed to use this parameter, and it's something called ink type. And this is something we need to have inside the form tag in order for this to actually pass it on to our upload.php file. So we need to say ink type, and we need to set it equal to something called multipart form data. So we're going to say multipart/form-data. So now we should be able to pass on images and other types of files into upload.php. Now the next thing we need to do is to set an input inside our form tags. So I'm going to say input, and we're going to set the type as a file because we need to pass on a file. And when we do set the type as file, what you guys will notice is that when we go into the website, we're going to get this button we can click on in order to select the file from our computer. So this is basically what this input does. So if we go ahead and name this, we can just go ahead and call it file as well, because why not? And if we go ahead and load our website, you guys can see we get this button here. I can click it, and then I can browse my computer for files. So it's pretty simple to do. So if I go back to the website, we need to also make sure we create a button. So when we do actually click something, something happens. So we say button. And I'm going to go ahead and set the type as submit. And I'm going to set the name as submit. Inside the button, we're just going to write something like upload image or upload file. Doesn't really matter. Let's actually go ahead and say upload, because I don't want to confuse you guys, because it is all types of files. It's images and text documents we can upload, or PDF files, or whatever we want to do. So we're just going to say upload. So now that we have this is all we need to have in order to get started on uploading stuff to our website. Now what I want to show you guys first is that right now inside my root folder, as you guys can see, I only have this document called index.php. Now when we upload a file, we will need to tell our PHP script where we need to upload the file to. So before we create that upload.php file, I would like to create another folder inside my root folder, which I call uploads. Just so we have a folder we can upload stuff into. So now that we have this, we can actually go ahead and go into our text editor and create a new file. Now inside this file, I'm just going to go ahead and save it first. I'm going to call it upload.php and just save it directly inside my root folder. So now that we have this, we can actually go ahead and start writing the code that will fetch the image or text file from our form and then upload it. Now when we do this, we can set a bunch of parameters that it needs to check in order for this file to get uploaded. And it really depends on you guys how many you want to set. It's basically error handlers. which means that we can set a limit for the file size. We can tell the script which type of documents we want to allow for the user to upload. We can do a bunch of stuff in here, and we're just going to go ahead and go through all of them in order to, just give you guys a bunch to choose from. Inside the upload the PHP file, the first thing we're going to do, so we're going to go ahead and tell it we want to start writing PHP code. So we need to create the PHP tags. And then inside the PHP tag, the first thing we're going to do is create an if statement, because we need to check if we did actually click the button inside our form in order to submit the image. So we're going to say is set, parentheses, and then we're going to write a super global called $_post, because we use the post method inside our form. We're going to say brackets and say that the name we're checking for inside the post method is submit, because we used submit as a name inside our button. So if we click the button, then it needs to run the code in here. And this is where we want to start uploading the file. Now the first thing we need to do in order to upload the file is we need to get the information of the file. So the first thing we're going to do is create a variable. We're going to call it file, set it equal to a super global called $_files. And files is actually a new super global we haven't talked about before, which basically gets all the information from the file that we want to upload using an input from a form. So we're going to say we have $_files, brackets, and then the name of the file, at least in our case, is file. Because inside our index page, we did actually name the file file. So now that we have this, we need to extract all the information from this file, such as the name, the size of the file, and what kind of file type it is. So underneath here, we're going to create another variable. We're going to call it file, name. We're going to set it equal to the super global called files again. That has a name of file. And then we need to tell which information from this file we want to extract. And the first one here, we want to get the full name of the file. So I'm going to say brackets again. Then I'm going to say single quotes, name. Now if you're asking about why we need to write name in order to get the name of the file, if I were to print R this file we have up here by saying print _R, $file, and then run it inside the website, you guys can see, as soon as I select some kind of file inside my computer, upload it, we get an array. So we get name, which is equal to After Effects, and this is a associative array which we talked about 2 episodes ago, so if you guys are confused about the names here, you can go ahead and watch that episode first. Now we get name, which is equal to the name of the file. We have type, which is equal to a text file type that we have inside PHP called image/something. We also get a temporary name, which is equal to what we have here, which is actually the temporary location of the file, because right now we haven't uploaded the file yet, so it saves somewhere temporarily on our computer before we actually upload it. Then we also get an error that checks if we did actually get an error uploading this file. Right now it says 0, which means we didn't get an error. If it says 1, then we got an error. We also get the size of the file here. So we get a bunch of information, and this is the information we need to insert into our variables. So the first thing we're getting is the name. So if I go back here and just kind of delete print R, as you guys can see, we now got the name. Let's actually go ahead and copy this, paste it underneath here a couple of times, because we do need to have about 5, I think it was. And then we're going to change the names. So instead of file name, we're going to say file tmp name, which we're then also going to change over here. Instead of name, we're going to say tmp_name, which is, like I said, the temporary location of the file, which is actually pretty important when we do actually need to upload the file. The next thing we need to add here is the size of the file. So we're going to say size, and again we're going to change it from name to size inside the brackets. The next thing we need to add is the error. If we do actually get an error, then it needs to stop uploading the file. So I'm going to say error, change the name inside our brackets as well. And then the last thing we need to check here is the type of file we get. So we say type, then we change it to type inside the brackets. So now we get all the information we can get from this file we uploaded here. So now that we have all the information of the file, the next thing we can do is we can tell it which files we want to allow to upload into our website. Because let's say I want to upload a profile image to my website, and I want only to have JPEGs inside the website. Then I can tell it that I want to allow JPEGs underneath here. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So now we're going to go ahead and create a variable. We're going to call it file, ext for extension, set it equal to a function called explode inside PHP. Because right now we want to take apart the name we have up here, because right now, as you guys can see, the name is equal to the name of the file dot .jpeg. So what we want to do is we do actually want to explode the name by the punctuation and get these two different names here. So inside my code again, inside the explode tags, we're going to tell it that we want to explode, take apart this certain string from the punctuation. And then the second parameter is going to be the actual thing we want to separate wherever there's a punctuation mark. And we want to do that with the file name. So we're going to take the file name and insert it inside our explode. So now we do actually get two pieces of data. We get the first part, which is the name of the file, and then the second part, which is the extension. Underneath here, we're going to go ahead and set another variable. We're going to say file actual extension. And we're going to set it equal to another PHP function called string to lowercase. And that's because right now if I were to upload a file that might have big letters after the punctuation, so instead of JPEG in small letters, it could actually be JPEG as capitalized letters. So we want to make sure that every time we want to check for these sort of things, we always make it lowercase before we start checking it. So we're going to say strtolower, parentheses. And then inside the string to lowercase, we want to get the actual thing they want to make into lowercase. So what we want to get is we want to get the second data we got from the explode up here, because we don't want to get the file name, we want to get the extension, which is the second piece of data. So inside the string to lower, we're going to say end, parentheses, which is also a PHP function that gets the last piece of data from an array, which we do actually get when we explode something. We get an array from it, which in this case is going to be our extension. So we're going to go ahead and say $file extension. So now we basically have the extension from the file we just uploaded. Now the next thing we need to do is to tell it which files we want to upload or allow for people to upload inside our website. So underneath here, we're going to create an array which has the information inside of it of the files extensions we want to allow inside the website. So we're going to say $allowed, set it equal to an array, parentheses. Now inside this array, we're going to tell it which type of files we want to allow inside the website. So the first data I'm going to write in here is a JPG. Now the second file I want to allow is JPEG, because we do actually have more than one type of extension when it comes to JPEGs. The third file I want to allow in here is going to be a PNG image, like so. So now I basically just listed all the different file types I want to allow. Let's actually go ahead and allow PDFs as well, just for this example here, like so. Now the next thing we want to do here is now check if the file is actually allowed to get uploaded inside the website, if it has the proper extensions. So underneath here, we're going to go ahead and write another if statement inside our current if statement that we have going on in here. Now this if statement is going to go ahead and check if any of these extensions we listed up here is inside the variable we created called file actual extension. So if the JPEG is inside this variable up here, then it is allowed because it's inside this array down here. So inside the if statement, what we're going to write here is we're going to write in_array. And inside this one, we're going to say parentheses. And then inside the parentheses, we first of all need to tell it what the variable is that has the thing we want to check for. So we're going to say we have $file actual extension. Then the second parameter is going to be the array that we want to check if the string actually exists inside of it. So we're going to say allowed. Now if this is actually true, if this extension is inside the array, then we want to run this if statement here. Now if we do not have this extension inside the array, then we want to give an error message. So we're going to say else, curly brackets, then we can echo, you cannot upload files of this type. So now the person will actually get a message if he does actually upload a file that we don't allow inside the website. Now inside the if statement, the next thing we need to check for if there was any kind of errors when we uploaded the file, because we did actually check if we had an error inside the file information. And if there was no errors, then it's just going to go ahead and pass on with the next piece of code. So we're going to write an if statement inside our if statement. We're going to go ahead and insert our $ file error variable. And then we're going to go ahead and set it equal to 0. And the reason we're putting it equal to 0 is because we want to check if we had no errors uploading this file. As you guys can see inside our array, if you go down into error, which is right down here, then it's equal to 0, which means that we had no errors uploading this file right now. So we're going to go back into our file, and inside our if statement, actually no, after the if statement, we're going to create another else statement. Because if there was an error message here, we want to make sure we put an error message. So I'm going to go ahead and copy my echo down here. And then I'm going to say there was an error uploading your file. So now that we have that, we can actually go back inside our if statement, and the next thing we can check for is the file size. So I'm going to say if, and then inside the if statement, I'm going to say we have $file size. And then we're going to go ahead and check if it's lesser than a certain number. So right now we can actually go ahead and say it has to be less than 500 kilobytes, for example. So we're going to say 500,000. So now it's less than 500 kilobytes. Or if you guys want 1 megabyte, because some people do actually think this is quite tiny, we can always say 1 million kilobytes. So now if the file size is lesser than 1 million, if I go back to my browser, you guys can see my file size right now is actually not anywhere near that big. It's only 64,000 something. It will actually allow for this file to get uploaded. So now if it passes this thing, then we do actually get to the part where we do actually upload the file. But before we do that, we need to write another else statement. Because we want to write an error message if there was an error with this if statement. So I'm going to say echo, your file is too big. Inside the if statement then, we can start uploading the file. And before we do that, we need to make sure that when we do upload the file, it gets a proper name. Because right now if I were to upload, for example, a file called test.jpg to my uploads folder, and then someone else later on uploads an image that has the exact same name, test.jpg, it will actually overwrite the existing image inside my uploads folder, meaning that the other user who uploaded an image will get his image deleted. So in order to prevent that, we're going to go ahead and create a unique ID, which gets inserted or at least replaced with the actual name of the file when it was uploaded. So instead of it being named test.jpg, it would actually get named something like, you know, a bunch of numbers.jpg. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say we have a new variable, which is going to be equal to the new name of the file. So we're going to say file name new. We're going to set it equal to a function called unique ID. So we're going to say uniQID, parentheses. Now inside this function here, we're going to go ahead and create single quotes, comma, true, which creates a unique ID based on the microseconds that we're actually in right now in current time format. So we don't just get a random number, we actually get a time format in microseconds, which becomes a unique number that doesn't get replaced at one point, so we don't actually get a chance of this random number being the same as something we already uploaded. So after we have this, we're going to go ahead and say we want to add the extension of our file up here. So if it was a JPEG file we uploaded, we want to add the JPEG file type behind our unique name. Because this is the new file name, if we don't actually put the extension behind it, then our file will just be called something without any kind of extension, which means that it's not an image anymore. So after we have our parentheses, we're going to go ahead and insert the extension. So we're going to say punctuation, we're going to say double quotes, because we want to add an actual punctuation behind the name. Then after the double quotes, we're going to go ahead and say punctuation. And then we're going to go ahead and copy the name of our new file extension, which is up here, which is the lowercase version, called file actual extension, and put it behind our unique ID we have down here, like so. So if I zoom out, you guys can see we get one line of code. So now that we have the new file name, we need to tell it where we want to upload this file to inside our root folder. So we're going to go ahead and go down to next line. We're going to create another variable, and we're going to call this one file destination. We're going to set it equal to the actual destination that we want to upload the file to, which in our case if we had to write a path inside our root folder, is inside an uploads folder, / and then the name of the file we want to upload, which in our case is the new file name we created up here. So we're going to go ahead and copy the variable file name new and insert it after upload here. So we're going to make sure we actually do this correctly, because we have a string here and we want to insert the file name new after the string, like so. So if I zoom out, you guys can see it looks like this. So now that we have this, we just need to do one more thing before the file will actually get uploaded, which is to create the actual function which moves the file from the temporary location that we have up here into the actual location that we want it to become uploaded to, which we have right here. So on the next line, we're going to go ahead and create the function which actually uploads the file, which is called move _ uploaded file, parentheses, and inside the parentheses we need to tell it where the temporary location of the file is and where the new location is. So right now if we go back up to the top where we have the temporary file location, which is right here, go back down, paste it in as the first parameter, comma, and then tell it in the second parameter where we want to upload it to, which is the file destination. Right now we just told it to upload the file. So what we can do now is we can actually echo out a success message if we want to. Actually, let's actually go ahead and bring us back to the front page index.php after we're done. So I'm going to say header, double quotes, location, colon, and then we're going to say index.php. And then just to make sure we have actually uploaded the file, let's actually go ahead and add something behind the URL so we can actually see we uploaded the file. So I'm going to say question mark, upload success, just so you have something, like so. Save it, and now what we can do is actually test if this is working. So if I were to go back to my website, refresh, you guys can see once I do actually click choose file, select some kind of image, and click upload, we get upload success inside our URL up here. If I go into my root folder, what you guys will notice if I go inside my uploads folder is that we have an image in here, which right now has the following name. I'm just going to copy it so you guys can see it. This name right here, which is the unique ID we gave the name when we did actually put it inside in milliseconds, and then we added the extension behind it. So this is the new name of the file. Now, of course, if you want to upload profile images and have them appear for the right user inside a website, you know, when we're talking just profile images, we can't name it like this, like we just did here. But in a future episode, I will talk about how to do profile images using this method here, so we can actually get the right images from a website when a user, for example, gets logged in. But this is how we actually upload stuff inside our website. And I hope this wasn't too confusing for you guys, because it can get quite messy when you have all these different arrays of information inside files that we want to do stuff with when we do actually upload the file. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you guys next time.